On today's show, I think Slightly Biased said it best yesterday. There's a good team hidden inside this Dallas Mavericks team. And we're going to tell you signs that they are that good team on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Still can't even be open.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Subscribe to our free Locked On Mavs newsletter, your one stop for the best news and analysis on the Dallas Mavericks and the NBA, straight to your inbox every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. They provide the privileges of a high net worth to any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. And joining me as always, my co-host, media member, the mustard man, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Worst Thanksgiving side, go.
Worst Thanksgiving side?
Yep, worst.
Oh,
Three.
the first thing that came to my mind is a dry chicken. Somebody there's always somebody if somebody doesn't want turkey and you have chicken and it's dry. Oh, disgusting. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Gagging because you can't swallow
it. Oh
yeah.
It's bad.
I'm out on cranberry sauce.
Okay, but have you had cranberry sauce with everything together, like the perfect Thanksgiving bite? Because that's what makes cranberry sauce elite. Cranberry sauce by itself, you don't eat it by itself. It's not Jell-O.
I mean, no, I've tried it with some stuffing, but I've never
you got to do
all these different things on it.
On Thursday, do the perfect Thanksgiving bite: stuffing, mashed potatoes, turkey, gravy, and the cranberry sauce.
Cranberry sauce now.
Do it all together.
Is cranberry sauce worth it? Put it in the comments.
You just get a can of it and you just take it out of the can with the ribs on the rings on it, and you just put it in the middle. That's what it is.
I am smoking a turkey though Thursday, so I'm ready.
I thought you were gonna say something else for sure. All right, today's episode, we're gonna get into the rumors from 2 years ago. Continue. Today's episode, we're gonna get into.
It's great. It's great, man. It's great.
We're gonna get into signs that this Dallas Mavericks team is a good team. The Mavs are 10-8, not a great record, but Slightly said something yesterday on the show after the Mavs win against the Hawks, where he said that this team is a great team, just like in waiting, and it's sitting there. And that quote just kept sticking with me today. And so Isaac and I are going to talk about different ways that signs that we've seen so far that this team is a good team. And I'm going to start right here. I think that the Mavs wins against OKC, Denver, and I'll even throw Minnesota in there, are signs that this is a good team. I think that those are good wins that you can already hang your hat on, and we're not even 20% through the season.
You cheater. This is near the top of my list.
Good.
Big time wins mean more to me than dumb losses. When it went earlier, like in the season, to me, like when you can look at our profile and be like, hey, what's your best wins right now? And you can look at those 3 games, all 3 of them on the road. And that Denver game, you guys have been knocking it out of the park with these post game pods. And we haven't got to talk since the Denver game on Friday. That Denver game was my favorite. I think it was my favorite game all year, just because just how bad they wanted it. We talked about going into that game. Kyrie had said the last time they lost in Denver a few weeks ago, he's like, dude, we haven't won here forever. We really want to win here. And no Luka, they just fought through it. So you could tell they wanted it so bad. And so you can look at a game like that, even without Luka, your best player. You can look at that Minnesota, game. OKC, you didn't have Luka either. And it's just though having that on your resume, when I'm looking at who's the best teams in the league, can you beat the best teams in the league? That's my number one thing I ask. And it's they've shown that already.
Yeah, there's certain things what does your half court offense look like? What does your half court defense look like? The little signs within the whole season, where if there's a team that's really good in transition, we've seen these teams in the past, dominate all season, be really great in transition, be really great playing fast and pushing the pace. And all of a sudden you get to the playoffs and everything slows down, and then your whole offense crumbles, right? Or you can't create isolation baskets, and so your team crumbles. And so seeing, the Mavs get wins against some of these best teams is like that, where, all right, it's down to it, and you've got to get buckets. You've got to, come up with a way to win. You've got Luka out in the OKC and the Denver game. You've got to find a way to win, and the Mavs did. So yeah, those wins to me are definitely signs that this is a good team.
Yeah, and I'll kind of build on that for one of mine is, a sign. I feel like we say this like kind of cliche, like cheesy saying a lot. It's like, hey, good teams, they got to win different ways. And I don't know if we've seen a Mavericks team this early in the season. And I get it, we've been frustrated in the record and all the stuff, but I don't know if we've seen a Mavericks team this early in the season win so many different ways that, we've had stretches and won some of these games, won that game in Minnesota in which you got your best player playing and Luka's putting up 30 points in a game and triple doubles. Like, you can win that way. We've seen Kyrie take over some games in the fourth. We've seen them win games without Luka. We've seen them shoot a ton of threes earlier in the season and win some games. We've seen them drastically drop off in three-point attempts, and now they're in the 20s as far as three-point attempts per game, 20s as far as like, I think they're like 22nd in the league in three-point attempts per game. And it's like now they're not shooting a ton of threes and they're winning some games. We're seeing role players like Naji Marshall legitimately winning them a game or two, like, and then some other role play. Like, it's just they're winning so many different types of ways. You wish it would result in some like a little bit more consistent Mavs basketball at times, because right now it's like we're just tipping off a game. We're like, what are we gonna get? Dinwiddie, can you play basketball tonight? Or what? Like, who's going to play in the rotation? Heck, Jason Kidd's is out there experimenting left and right. It's like, man, haven't seen Gortman out there to close a game, so let's just put Gortman in to close this nail biter of a game. We haven't seen it yet, and it's just like I feel like everything's so much in the air. We haven't had consistency yet, but they've shown that they can win different ways.
Yeah, and to be fair, they've also lost a bunch of different ways, but the losses actually are one of my signs that this is a good team too. The Mavs losses have all been close. Every single one of them. Yeah. They have 7 clutch losses, tied for the most in the NBA. And here are their losses by points. They have 4 of their 8 losses are by 1, 2, or 3 points. That's four of them. And they were pretty much in a row, which was that crazy stretch against Phoenix, then Denver, then Golden State, and then Utah. The Utah one is maybe their only actual bad loss. Then they have 3 losses of 4 to 9 points. They only have 1 loss of double-digit points, and it was against Phoenix earlier in the season. That was the weird ref game we talked about, and it was an 8-point game with 3:40 left. So it wasn't, it was close, at least at a certain point late.
Is that the second game of the season?
Yes. Yeah, second game of the season. And here are the teams with only 1 double-digit loss in the NBA. Dallas, OKC, Houston, and Cleveland and Boston don't have a double-digit loss yet. So,
right, we're that good.
Well, they have like 4 losses between the two of them, but I think that's good company, and I think that's another sign that all these have been close. The Mavericks they're not one big move away. They're not getting blown out in some of these games where we go, oh, this team's just not close. You and I have covered this Mavericks team since 2015, where we've seen teams where you're like, they just don't have it. They've got to make a big move. We're doing trade pods in November and December trying to figure out what they need. We're not doing that for this team because I think they're a couple of tweaks away. I think they're a couple of players getting better, finding their role better, shooting better, and all that away from having a really good record. I mean, 4 of their losses are by 1, 2, and 3 points. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, you can point at the clutch stuff and be like, listen, if you want to win an NBA title, you got to figure out the crap in the clutch. All right.
They do.
You can't have this clutch stuff and problems and experiments and all the stuff happening. You hope that they'll iron that out. But you can look at it and be like,
they were the number 1 team in the clutch last year. So that is my thing, that they will figure it out, right? Like, you already have
Yeah. I mean, you've seen it last year. And so, but with the like clutch losses or these, 1, 2, 3 point losses, I mean, it literally is this thing goes this way or this shot goes in, then we're looking at a completely different record. So in non-Tony Brothers games.
Exactly. Coming up, there's something about Luka that makes me think this is a great team in waiting. I'm going to tell you what it is coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual can get the same rates that the high society get. So check out Robinhood Gold and earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for specific disclosures. Visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. Isaac, your Ravens are they're playing some pretty good football right now. How are you feeling about them going into the weekend?
No, I'm feeling pretty good. They do play the Eagles though. Saquon versus Derrick Henry.
3-point favorite at home for the Baltimore Ravens. Basically just a home favorite.
All right, that scares me going against Saquon. But
the Dallas Cowboys against the New York Giants on Thanksgiving, a 3.5-point favorite against the Giants. Hey, they're both bad, so it could be a good game. So check that one out. And while you're at FanDuel, go check out and put $5 down, and you get $150 in bonus bets if you win on that first $5 bet. It's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. Subscribe to our newsletter. We got a QR code in the corner of the screen. We also have a link in the description because we are the #1 newsletter in all of Locked On.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
That's right. That's right. They can't touch us. And let me tell you, the gap between us and #2 is wide. If you have been with us for a long time, if you're a long-standing Raccoon Squad member, it's reminiscent of our dominance on the Himalaya app. You remember we had the most subs on Himalaya? We had we're top 50 of all podcasts on Himalaya.
Hot Mic was
we were killing it. Yeah, we killed it on Hot Mic. So the Raccoon Squad follows us around. We appreciate it. The brand is still strong. We appreciate you guys for subscribing to the newsletter. But if you haven't yet, check the QR code or the link in the description. All right, Isaac.
We're dominating David Locke in Utah bad
that's right.
That David's wanting to sue Universal.
We're sharing signs that this Dallas Mavericks team is a good basketball team or a great basketball team this season. We talked about their wins. We've talked about their losses. I want to talk about Luka. I think one of the signs that this Dallas Mavericks team is a great team in waiting, in hiding. They have an MVP candidate who has not played up to his own level yet, but he will. I think he will. One of the biggest signs to me is I looked up on Synergy and I looked it up today. He is still ranked average on pick and roll ball handler. That has never been him ever. His rookie year all the way up, he's been very good or excellent, the two highest ratings. He's never been, good, which is a middle or average or below average or anything like that. He has always been very good or excellent. He's ranked average. He scores 0.81, points per possession, and he just has to be more efficient in the pick and roll. And we know that he can be because he has been his whole his whole career. And so once he gets that, it opens up so much more for the Mavs offense. And I think Luka knows that. We've seen Luka frustrated in his own game, frustrated with, how he's playing right now. And it's a sign to me that this team has another level to go to because we've seen Luka at that level and he just hasn't reached it yet this season. And when he comes back from injury, I hope he does hit it.
When you sent me this question for the pod and you're like, what signs that this Mavericks team is a great team, I kind of took it in this way of the signs that this team is a great team that can win a title. And I kind of added that on the end of it. And to add on to the Luka point, in order to win a title, you got to have a superstar. And this is when you're looking across the league. This is the hardest thing to do in sports. I mean, some people say the hardest thing to do in sports is to keep the superstar, but the hardest thing that everybody keeps swinging for and more, teams want to lose. I mean, we're going to see some historic tanking to end the season. Okay. For this draft class coming up with Bailey and Cooper Flag and stuff. So it's everybody's swinging for those superstar, players, cornerstones of your franchise, because that's what gives you a shot at winning an NBA title. A Jokic, a Giannis, I'm thinking of these Boston's Jason Tatum's a star, Jaylen Brown's a star, but it's hard to like
It's a
compare
collective.
anything.
That's like a 2004 Pistons. You know, they're just.
Okay. I think they're a little better than that.
They're
team,
so good collectively. I just mean like they're very good collectively. I mean, I guess you could put the 2011 Mavericks there. I mean, Dirk is a star, but you know, MVP. He's maybe a little step above Tatum, but
who, Dirk?
Yeah, like in his era.
Do you want to clip this out?
No, I don't.
We can edit this out. No, but like
he's an all NBA, all that.
Yeah, but it's like it's hard to compare anything Boston. I mean, they literally have this historic payroll. They have all these great players on this team, right? But it's like you got to have the stars win titles, and you already have that superstar in Luka. He's already taken you to the finals. He's an MVP candidate every season. When you have all these moments in the playoffs, and he's crossing up Rudy Gobert, and he's having all these moments there, to end these games in these clutch games. Like, what is it, Naji talking about it after the game the other day about like this is when it's those clutch moments that you need, Luka, that's when he does this thing and he goes off. So it's like they've already secured that. So it sounds so simple, but like, why is the Mavericks like a great team and why can they like win a title this season? Is because they have Luka freaking Doncic, one of the best players in the whole world. And to Nick's point, he hasn't played up to Luka like standards yet, and they're still like figuring out all the other stuff too. So
yeah, and he's getting this time off for this wrist injury, and he should be reevaluated like a Thursday or Friday, and we'll see if he's going to play over the weekend. And we'll have shows for you every single day throughout that. So we'll see what happens with Luka. But to me, that's a sign that this team is going to be a great team, or can be a great team, or is one inside, like deep inside their heart. Be introspective and look in, because Luka is there. You can also you can throw Kyrie in there. The play of Kyrie Irving has shown that they are a great team. I mean, his fourth quarter against the Hawks the other night was just a dig down deep, like gutsy win when he came in sick, and he wasn't shooting well throughout the beginning of this game and all that. And I just think
who's not sick right now for them?
Everyone is apparently. Naji Marshall. Naji Marshall tweeted that he was sick when he got back on the plane. So there's something on the Mavs plane.
Don't get on the plane.
Yeah, don't.
No, but I mean, the level that Kyrie's playing at this season, I did one more thing a few weeks ago about his start to the season, and it was like everybody's tried to like discredit him or discount him, and since he like came to Dallas, and it's like he goes on the first full season with Luka, they go to the NBA finals and all this stuff. And yeah, he struggled in the finals, but like I feel like the number one thing about him this offseason was, well, there's no way he's going to be able to replicate that, right? Like he had like the perfect season in Dallas. Like he can't do that again. And it's like he's a year older and he's coming into the second full season in Dallas and he's playing amazing basketball. And Luka's missing games and he's helping carry the team and stuff. So I mean, you have the second star secure too. Like you start looking at it on paper and you almost got to do the opposite of like what are they struggling with the most that could hold them back? Because there's a lot of things. You have your superstar in place. You also have the second star in place in Kyrie that can fit with Luka, that have taken them to an NBA Finals before. So that right there is greatness that you've already seen.
And we already know they can play together. That's not a question. Yeah. That's still a question for some teams. I mean, even think about the Giannis and Dame, like they had a -5 net rating a couple not that long ago, which is bad. They're getting outscored when they're on the court together. They still have to have something to figure out, right? You have Luka and Kyrie are outscoring teams by 9 points per 100 possessions when they're on the court, and so they are already like an elite duo, an elite pairing that works together. We know that they work together. And they both know their roles, and we're not worried about them figuring out, all right, who's the one and who's the two? How do I play off of you? How do I do this? They already have that, and they've already figured that out. Already been to a finals together, and so that's another sign that all right, things will calm down. Things will level out as far as some of these clutch losses and things like that. It just may take a little bit more time than we had hoped to start the season. They're not coming out of the gate on fire like we had hoped they would be.
And that's the difference between you're looking at it, if you're looking at another team across the league and like, man, they're really struggling in the clutch. Can they figure it out? What, will they figure out? You're asking these questions that you haven't seen answered before. And to Nick's point earlier, we've seen this answer before. Like they know how to play in the clutch. So if there is a team that you're going to say, oh, they'll turn it around in the clutch, it's the team that's done it before and it has two of the best isolation, two best clutch players in the league in Luka and Kyrie.
How about the other team that also has 7 losses in the clutch, the Sacramento Kings? right? We're having this conversation about Fox and Sabonis. It's not the same conversation we're having about Luka and a Kyrie duo.
De'Aaron Fox won Clutch Player of the Year a few years ago, so that means
DeMar
he's
DeRozan
the
almost
best
did.
clutch player in the entire NBA.
Well, his team is not the best clutch team. They're tied for the most losses in the clutch with the Mavericks and the Raptors right now. So, but it's just we're just on a different level, and the Mavs duo is just better than the Kings duo on several different levels, and so that is proof to me that this team is a good team. The things we talked about already, and then the two stars have already been to the top, and I think that's something that has will prove that this team is a good team.
Don't be slandering Slightly's guy and Sabonis.
I won't. I said at the beginning of the season that Bam was better than Sabonis, and so far this season, that has not been correct. Sabonis has been better.
Huh. I feel like that's not that much of a hot take, but I guess
Bam was better. I didn't think it was either. And then Matt George of Locked On Kings came after me on that one. He did like a whole show. On it.
He also made a song that the Kings were okay in taking Bagley over Luka. So
yeah, there's a Delulu element over there for sure with Matt. But he's right. He was right about that because Sabonis has been better than Bam so far this season. But the Heat have not been very good at all this season. But I guess now the Kings haven't been very good either. So you can go back and forth on that. But the Mavericks, there are signs that this team is a really good team, and I think their wins, their losses that we've seen so far, the good wins, their close losses, and their two stars, I think are the biggest reasons for that. Coming up, let's get into the rest of the roster because I think the Dirty Work Wings have proven so much to us over the last couple of games, especially with Luka out and some more opportunity. Let's talk about those guys and some more reasons why the Mavs are a good team.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs is brought to you by Built. Check out Built. Join built.com/LockedOnNBA. Isaac, you've rented before. I have rented before.
Yeah,
and
I have.
You just feel like you're just throwing money into a pit every time you submit your rent. You're like, man, I'm just not getting anything from this. You can't even put it on like a credit card and earn points from it, right?
Yeah.
Until now. Check out, if you're a renter, start taking advantage of Built. If I were you earn points on groceries, travel, and practically everything else we buy, but you should also be earning points on rent, one of our biggest monthly expenses that comes right out of your bank account each month, and you're like, oh, there we go. Now you can get points on it. Built changed the game by letting renters earn high value points on rent around their neighborhood. There's no cost to join Built, and as a member, you earn valuable points on rent on your everyday spending. Isaac, see if you can use any of these. They are over 500 airlines. Do you fly?
Oh, yeah, I do.
700,000 hotels and properties. Do you stay?
Yeah, of course.
You can redeem your Built points there. Also towards a bunch of other things too, so check it out and see what you have there. If you're not earning points yet, see when you can. Start earning points on rent if you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Join Built, BILT.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use that URL so they know that we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points on your rent payments today.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, let's get into the rest of this. Let's talk about the rest of the roster and reasons why the Mavericks are a great team hiding in plain sight here from us. The Dirty Work Wings. I've talked about him all summer, and I was high on Naji Marshall, and he has been awesome. He has been so good. Last 12 games of Naji Marshall, 27 minutes a game, 15 points, about 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, shooting 60% from the floor, 36% from three, manna from heaven, on about 3 threes a game, and that's just going up. Naji Marshall has been absolutely awesome and has been everything and more the Mavs could have hoped for when they signed him.
Did you know that he doesn't just make 1 3?
He never makes just one. He always makes more than one. It's my favorite stat of the year.
I remember earlier in the season, I think it was like after the first 2 games, maybe 3 games, and there were some fans like, do we regret this signing? Is he really a replacement of? It's like, all right, we gotta give it more time, guys. Like, just let it bake a little bit more. And here we are. Like, I mean, he's playing so good basketball. I tweeted out, during the, I guess it was the Hawks game. I was like, I can't wait to see like this version of Naji with Luka. will Naji be dropping, career highs with Luka? Maybe not, but I think we're going to see this still like confident Naji, like and more comfortable Naji playing with Luka, and that's what I'm excited about. I mean, his touch in the paint and like his feel for the game around there. Some of the shots, it feels like they're kind of wild, and I think they feel kind of wild because we haven't seen him play every game throughout the seasons until now. But now I feel like I've gotten a little more accustomed to it of like, oh, that's not a wild shot from Naji because he can make it. Like some of them are still wild, but like not all of them. And yeah, that's the part of the game. His game has impressed me so much is his finishing in the paint and his 3-point shots finally coming around. So he's been amazing.
It's like getting used to a Luka step back where you're like, oh, that's not a crazy shot anymore. It just is Luka's shot. But
and when you comp him to Derrick Jones Jr., because you're naturally going to do that. It's just Jones is like, it was a lot of fun. I think he's so lanky and can plays more above the rim, and I think he could probably get through screens a little bit more because he can just like kind of slither through
and the length,
and the length and stuff. But man, what Naji can bring, the versatility on the offensive side of him being able to bring the ball at the floor to relieve Kyrie and Luka and stuff. I'd rather him handle it than Dinwiddie. And just like, it's just a different type of player. And I was like excited for the Naji signing, but I was a little like, okay, I wonder how it's going to like, how he's going to replace it. Cause that was one of the things I would hear in talking to some people is like, hey, we're interested in Naji. He's interested in us. Like he could be like a Jones replacement if we like miss on him, if Jones goes somewhere else. I was like, is he kind of like just a swap out replacement type of player? And now seeing him play every game, like I'm like, it's a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun, and he's been very good. He's fit into his role perfectly, and I think at a certain point they'll go with Naji in the starting lineup. It might not matter that much to people, but we're already seeing it in closing lineups where it's PJ and Naji as the two wings.
I mean, I joked earlier or before the season started. I mean, I don't think it would happen now, but like I was like, will he start over PJ at some point? But not
PJ now.
Yeah. I think if he's hitting threes, this goes into like why this team can be great is when you build a roster around Luka, which is what they're doing, you got to have 3-point shooters. And when you go back even to the 2022 run and going into those playoffs, it's like, listen, these guys are going to get open shots. Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock, Maxi Kleber, like these guys, like they're going to get the open shots. If they hit them at a high rate, the Mavericks will advance in the playoffs. It is a given. And Maxi hit 1,000,000 threes against the Jazz. Dorian and Reggie are hitting shots and all the stuff. So it's like, and they go to the Western Conference Finals. Look at the shooters around Luka. You have a Kyrie Irving. You have a Klay Thompson. When Naji's hitting his threes, he's shooting at a high percentage. You just like go through the wings there. Quentin Grimes, like you have shooters around him. So in order to be great, in order for an heliocentric offense to be great, you got to have shooters around them, and they have the shooters.
We mentioned PJ Washington, the other dirty work wing that is just playing so great. The Mavs are 1-4 without him and 9-4 with him. To me, that's something.
Oh yeah, 100%. And he's had to be so much more aggressive with Luka out. You go back to the offseason, and I think it was Nico who said that, hey, we've asked PJ to come back from this offseason and score a little bit more. And I think this is before they even signed Klay or made the trade and signed a trade. It was like, hey, we want to see your points per game go up a little bit. Like we need him to score a little bit more. And it feels like since Luka's been out, I would almost put money down that somebody went right up to him and said, we need you to step up and be another scorer right now. Because it just feels like he's like taking people off the dribble more aggressive around the basket and just like all the stuff. It's not just the like, hey, you're going to be in the corner, take the three when it comes to you. It's like he's kind of like a secondary offensive like creator guy to Kyrie. And yeah, that's been a lot of fun. And I'm really curious though to see how he adjusts when Luka comes back more than anybody, like more than Naji, more than any of the players. I want to see how his role is. And yeah, just how that, because he's just naturally not going to have as much like creating or aggressive opportunities like that he's having now. He's going to be a little bit more relegated back to a spot up shooter. Not all the time, but he's one I'm watching.
Yeah, and watch where his opportunities come from. If he's just a catch and shoot 3-point shooter, then I think you're misusing him in a way, right? Because we've seen now in some of these games that he can be a creator, like you said. Same with Naji. Both of these guys can create in certain ways, and that's what we've wanted for this team for so long. Wings that could just do a little bit more. Now we've got these guys that are maybe not as good at 3-point shooters as the Mavs have had in the past, but can do more, and that's what you need from those spots because they're going to get guarded by the third, fourth, fifth best defender on the other team.
Yeah. I got one more thing. Let's go. I think this team is a great team and can win a title because like they love each other. Like this chemistry.
You think they go around the table at Thanksgiving and say what they're thankful for and they just name each other? You think that's what they do?
They just like look at each other. It's like
thankful for
Dereck,
you, Spencer.
Spencer,
Blake.
we love that you gave up on Bitcoin. And actually he didn't, but
Jane Hardy talks for 45 minutes about Kyrie.
I just love you, dude. And
we're brothers and you're like my uncle, but we're also brothers.
Luka's like, so Overwatch. So I think these guys, when like you can tell that they really care for each other and like the chemistry stuff. We've seen some like really good chemistry like examples for these Mavs teams going back to that Western Conference Finals run and looking at the this recent playoff run and stuff. Like this group of guys, you're not seeing the stories like leak out or you're not seeing a team
Sixers
meeting. You're even seeing even a small thing like Kyrie mention and even Naji tweeting out and stuff like, Luka, my brother, like we miss you, get better. We're holding, Naji tweeting out about holding, it's like it's not just like hey, we're out here doing this, like they're missing and, Luka's like one of the guys. So it's like, there's a chemistry there and that just means a lot. So.
Absolutely. Yes. The power of friendship will propel this team.
Stop making fun of me, Nick.
My one more thing is the Mavs full rotation is pretty solid. You've got two stars, Luka and Kyrie. You've got Klay, PJ, and Dereck Lively as the starters. That's a very solid to, it's a very good starting lineup. Yeah. Daniel Gafford coming off the bench, one of the best backup centers in the NBA.
Keep going.
Naji Marshall.
Great.
Feel great about that. Another 6-man. Quentin Grimes, my guy.
It's your guy, dude.
Feeling really good about that. And then in a playoff series, you normally play like 8 to 9 players. So that's 8, right? Okay. So then your wild card player is one of Dinwiddie, who we've seen had some good games and some bad games. Maxi Kleba, who we've just saw had a pretty good game and, is coming back from injuries. Dante Exum, who is still not healthy, but when he comes back, can be solid.
Soon, Dante.
And then Jaden Hardy, who we've seen had some good games here or there and played well off of Luka and Kyrie. Yeah. So if you can get one of those guys from that group of 4, hopefully a guard. Hey, play more Gortman. But like Gortman. If you can get one of those guys to be solid, then that's a really solid rotation.
Yeah, no, I mean, feels like they've kind of landed on something. So consistency. I think that's what this team needs more than anything right now, especially when Luka gets back. Let's get some consistent rotations going for a couple weeks.
Absolutely. There you go. That's some signs that the Mavericks are a great team. Check the QR code on the screen for more ways to follow us, subscribe to the newsletter, as well as the Locked On Mavs Insider to get text straight to your phone. All the updates. If you ever thought, man, I don't want to be on Twitter anymore and I don't want to try and Google all my Mavs alerts, I'll tell you every injury. I'll tell you every rumor. I'll tell you everything that you need to know during games. So, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back tomorrow with a post-game show. Thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.